Hey guys, my name's Barack Rashama, and today we're going to be covering an in-depth guide for the Elemental Shaman on patch 7.0.3. Now, there's a lot of information I'm going to be covering in this video, so if you want to click on each segment covering each topic, you can, down below in the video's description. So, going on our first topic, the buffs that we received with the most recent patch. Starting out with our Mastery effect getting increased by 12.5%. Now, this shouldn't be confused with the damage that it's doing, but simply the proc chance of it being increased by 12.5%. Sadly, this buff to our mastery doesn't put it above any other stat on our stat priority list. Moving on to our Chain Lightning Maelstrom generation was increased to 6. It was at 4 previously, and 6 just allows our AoE buildup and our cleave buildup to be a little bit more powerful. We get those Earthquake totems out more reliably, and those Earth Shocks out more often as well. Lightning Bolts and our Chain Lightning damage was increased by 23%. This is very big. I find that our sustained damage has gone up, as well as our reliability as a raid position in a mythic progression guild. I think that Elemental Shamans are very viable now and should actually be considered in a reliable raid team. We bring a lot to the table, including our damage, our on-demand burst. Our sustain now is very reliable, and our raid utility is actually pretty good. Lava burst damage was increased by 5%. This is good simply because Lava Burst is one of your hardest hitting spells, and just getting a nice increase to it helps out both Ascendant style players and normal Lightning Rod style players. Storm Elemental talent, Call Lightning and Wind Gust damages was increased by 20%. This is pretty much just an overall damage increase to your Lightning Elemental, or your Storm Elemental, sorry. But sadly, it's not enough to make it more viable than, say, your Elemental Mastery talent. I just think that your Elemental Mastery outperforms Storm Elemental at the moment. Things are subject to change, guys, so don't take everything written in stone. Take everything with a grain of salt. Moving on to our next point in the video, our talents. Talent selections. There's a few things that I want to be going over with each tier. Starting out with our 15 tier, I chose Totem Mastery. This is a preference. Totem Mastery and Earth and Rage, they are very close together, but Totem Mastery I find just a little bit more playroom with. Noting on our generation of Maelstrom by 1 every second, you can actually cheese a lot of things with this, including being out of combat and then going back into combat several times during trash pulls and getting up to the next boss. Let's give a situation right now. So, say you just pull the trash pack and then you have about 28 to 32 Maelstrom, right? Now, normally, that Maelstrom would be depleted every second while you're out of combat. Totem Mastery prevents that from happening because you're generating 1 Maelstrom every 1 second for every 1 Maelstrom getting depleted every 1 second by being out of combat. So you're able to cheese that mechanic and stay up on your Maelstrom between each trash pack. I find that actually very useful, and that's why I roll with it, as well as the other buffs that the talent gives you. Earth and Rage comes in handy for high movement fights. Fights where you're going to be out of range of your Totem Mastery quite often, and it performs a little bit higher in that situation. I'm not running it because of my personal preference towards it, but it's something to be considered. Moving on to our talents for the 30 tier. The two that I would only consider would be Gust of Wind and Wind Rush Totem. Wind Rush Totem is obviously a raid utility spell. It increases your movement speed of the raid by 60 for 5 seconds. This comes in very handy, especially on Mythic Ethereal Renferal. When she goes up in her webs and then she comes crashing down, you guys have to move out as soon as possible and as fast as possible. So Wind Gust Totem really helps out in a situation like that. Gust of Wind is a single use, like it's on you, so this helps out with a lot of positioning factors, as well as getting out of dangerous positions and dangerous AoEs, or raid damage that can be avoidable if you move quick enough, right? So Gust of Wind is my personal preference. Obviously, I'm going to switch into Wind Rush Totem if our raid calls for it at that time. But for the most part, I'm going to be running Gust of Wind. Moving on to our Totem CC tier. Lightning Surge Totem and Earth Grab Totem, in a raid sense, are the only two that I would consider. Lightning Surge Totem offers a great AoE stun that can be very helpful. You know, you stun a pack of mobs and then you can reposition them with your Thunderstorm if you're good at it. Or Earth Grab Totem, slowing and rooting targets continuously. Very useful for kiting adds around, or getting that CC on high priority targets that need to be kited and DPS down as quickly as possible. Moving on to our 60 talent. Ancestral Swiftness right now outperforms Echo of the Elements and Elemental Blast by a significant amount, considering that Haste is our second most wanted stat. You know, so 10% extra Haste, that's really big. Later in the expansion, I foresee a little bit of dabbing into Echo of the Elements when you have enough haste on your gear, where Ancestral Swiftness kind of like falls off, where if you hit that that hard cap for haste, you're going to want to get out of Ancestral Swiftness and maybe dab a little bit in Echo of the Elements to get those extra Lava Burst charges and to not waste Lava Surge charges at all. Moving into our 75 talent, Primal Elementalist is outperforming Icy Fury and Elemental Fusion by a significant amount. Primal Elementalist for your Elemental does a lot of damage. It's very high burst damage, even though it's on a 5-minute cooldown, well, which is your Fire Elemental, but is being reduced by 1 second every time you cast Lava Burst with the talent of Elementalist. Ice Fury I foresee being kind of useful actually in a high movement, predictable high movement portion of a fight, or on targets that need to be bursted down as quickly as possible. Ice Fury offers that kind of utility to it, so I recommend maybe dabbing a little bit into it during progression, or just sticking with Primal Elementalist if you're not comfortable with changing up your bars. Moving on to our 90 tier talent. Even though Storm Elemental was increased by 20% overall pretty much, it's still not outperforming, as I mentioned earlier in the video, that it's still not outperforming Elemental Mastery. This is a great spell, it's a great cooldown, 20% haste for 20 seconds. It's your third most important stat, so definitely keep using Elemental Mastery. Things are subject to change. There's obviously still a lot of testing that needs to be done with the newest patch, so Storm Elemental could be considered in the near or late future. Coming on to our 100 tier talents, Lightning Rod and Ascendance. These are preference choice. They're very close in damage, Ascendance being very high on-demand burst, and Lightning Rod significantly receiving a pretty high buff from the recent changes to Elemental Shaman. That's why I roll with it. It's really great for Mythic Plus, and it's really great sustained damage for Mythic progression in raids right now for Elemental Nightmare. Not Elemental Nightmare, Emerald Nightmare. But Ascendance, it has its moments, right? It's gonna have its moments for me as well, especially on the iBoss, Il'gynoth. That's how you say it, yeah. You need to burst down the heart of Il'gynoth very quickly and as frequently as possible. So Ascendance comes in handy in a situation like that where you need that long-lasting high on-demand burst. But for my preference, I run with Lightning Rod. That way I'm not changing out talents between trash packs and boss fights. Lightning Rod's been very good to me, so I'm going to keep using it until things change. Alright, moving on to our next segment of the video, our stat priority. So for our stat priority, intellect is above everything, but that comes with stat weights. So we're going to be talking about a little bit of things here. Stat weights and stat priority. Your stat priority right now is going to be intellect over crit. Haste and versatility are very close together. I recommend going into haste, but still having a little bit of versatility in your arsenal, and then mastery at the bottom. You don't want to go into mastery, sadly. It's just not performing well. So we're going to check out an add-on right now called Pawn, and I recommend this because it takes into consideration your stat weights and gives suggestions for upgrades on newly acquired gear. So we're going to go over this right now. You can input your stat weights manually. You see how I did here with my intellect being an 8.9, my crit being a 7.2, my haste and versatility being a 6.8, and my mastery being a 5.4. These stat weights, they are definitely subject to change. They might not be correct, but they are generally in the right area. Don't take these stat weights written in stone as well. Things are subject to change. They may not even be 100% correct as well, but you can see how we set this up. You just click on it, do a quick input of the numbers here, and then you save it, and then you can compare your gear. If we look at this right now, if we go into my gloves for elemental, make sure you're on the elemental tab. It's not an upgrade. These are the best ones that I have right now, even though they're the same item level. It takes the stat weights into consideration and gives suggestions towards upgrades. So the ones that I have equipped right now, they are better than the ones that I just looked at. Alright, moving on to our rotation. Our rotation is going to be different for the amount of targets that we're facing, right? So for single target, you're going to be keeping your flame shock up as often as possible, obviously refreshing it with 20 Maelstrom, and only refreshing it, I'd say, at 3 seconds or less. For 2 targets, since the Chain Lightning changes happened, where you generate 6 Maelstrom now instead of 4, it's better to use Chain Lightning on 2 targets than it is to use Lightning Bolt. Excuse me. Keeping that in mind, you should keep your Flame Shock up on both targets. I'll give you an example right now. Keep your Flame Shock up on both targets, and just cleave off of one, the main target obviously, and keep casting that Chain Lightning as your filler spell, and using your Lava Bursts when it comes off cooldown, or use Lava Surge. And spending that Maelstrom at around 92 to 100 Maelstrom on your Earth Shocks, and keeping up those Flame Shocks as well. For your 3 target fights, you're going to want to keep Flame Shock up on all of your targets as often as possible. If they're close together, obviously use Chain Lightning, but if they're spread apart, that cannot be avoidable. You're obviously going to be using your Lightning Bolts on the one target that you're going to be focusing down. Say if this guy's over here and that guy's over there, my main priority is this guy. So I'm going to be casting my Lightning Bolt on this person, but also keeping up my Flame Shock at 20 Maelstrom on each target. 4 or more targets. This is where things get a little bit more fun, I'd say. So you're going to be... Let's pretend there's 4 targets here. Let's pretend this this target was closer to this one, so my Chain Lightning was hitting all 4 targets. You're going to be wanting to put your Earthquakes down at this point. You don't want a Flame Shock. It's a waste of Maelstrom, waste of damage, waste of a GCD. You're going to be spamming pretty much your Chain Lightning and putting down your Earthquake totems as often as possible. Now, really look out for those static overloads. Now, we're going to talk about static overload right now. Your Chain Lightning has a 10% chance to cause Elemental Overload to trigger on every target. If you're versing 5 targets right now, your Chain Lightning is going to hit every single one of those targets and then bounce off every single one of those targets to every other target. It's an insane amount of damage. Your one Chain Lightning can do more than 1 million damage from one cast. It's insane. So definitely keep an eye, and that generates Maelstrom too. It doesn't not generate Maelstrom, so you definitely got to keep an eye out for that. You can generate a lot of Maelstrom really quickly. You want to be spending those Earthquake totems as fast as possible. They're great in Mythic Plus, a lot of CC helping out the tank, and so yeah, covering those. Now we're going to talk about Trinkets and Legendaries. So for the Legendaries, I have gone over a lot of sims, and I found that the shoulders and the boots are the highest performing ones right now. They're the highest performing ones. So if you can get your hands on either of those, I definitely recommend using them. The boots are great for your stat weights, but they also offer a great utility for your Earth Shock. It's pretty much just your tier 2 set from last raid from Hellfire Citadel. Your 2 set from last raid for Hellfire Citadel. That's pretty much what it is. And then your Earth Shock for your shoulders. Your Earth Shock has a 50% chance, based on Maelstrom spent, to cause your next Earthquake totem to be free and deal 100% increased damage. This pretty much takes into account how our Chain Lightning pretty much worked with our Earthquake in previous expansions. Like if you Chain Lightninged up to 4 targets or 3 targets or something like that, then it would cause your Earthquake to deal a significant amount of damage and become free. So definitely worth taking up. It's a single target increase to use this, as well as an AoE increase as well. Talking about trinkets now. Now there are 4 top trinkets for Sims that I'm going to be talking about right now. Bow of Corruption, there isn't enough information on it, sadly. That's the trinket that drops off of Xavius, the last boss of Emerald Nightmare. There's not enough information out there right now that I have come across where Bow of Corruption has been doing a lot more damage than other trinkets. It's apparently, I've been hearing that it's very subpar. It's not performing up to what they thought it was going to do, the people that I've been talking to. So the trinkets that I'm going to be covering right now in this video are Swarming Plague Hive, Shock Baton that you can get from the World Quest, a Devilosaur Shock Baton from the World Quest in Suramar, the Neuraxis Spike Tongue, and the Oak Heart's Root. So right now, those 4 trinkets, and I'm going to put them up on screen, I'll show you guys here. Those 4 trinkets are the ones that are simming the highest at the highest item level, which is 880 item level. They're performing the best out of them. So Swarming Plague Hive gives you a stat of 932 haste. This is at 850 item level on normal, by the way. Your damaging spells have a chance for a swarm of carrion insects to engulf the target, dealing 176,492 damage over 10 seconds. Moving on to dungeons, where the other 2 trinkets drop. Our Oak Heart. Let's put this on Mythic. There we go. Oak Heart's Gnarled Root gives you 898 versatility. Again, it's a good stat. Good to have. Your ranged attacks and spells have a chance to deal an additional 156,192 or 29, shadow damage over 6 seconds and reduce the target's movement speed by 30%. This is also a really great high simming and a good performing trinket. It's one of our best in slots, especially at 880 item level. Moving on to our next trinket, which drops out of Netherion's Lair from Neuraxis. So our Neuraxis Spike Tongue. Sadly, it gives us 898 mastery, but the proc that it gives us is among the highest performing. Your range attacks and spells have a chance to launch a ball of venom that deals up to 168,055 nature damage based on your distance from the target. This can crit, by the way. I've seen it crit for over 500k. It does a significant amount of damage, and the item level that I have it at right now is only 850. Very good trinket. I recommend trying to get it, trying to farm it up every week. It's very good. Now, sadly, I don't have the Shock Baton on me. Otherwise, I would show you guys what it is. But it gives you crit, which is your best stat. Plus, it deals a significant amount of damage based on proc chances for your spells. So definitely worth taking some chances to try and get that. It has a proc chance to roll up to 880 item level when you do the quest. So it starts out at 830, I'm pretty sure, or 820. And then it can roll up to a higher item level when you acquire it. Alright, now we're going to go over the add-ons that I use. So my UI, a lot of people ask me about my UI, and I use Elf UI. It's very customizable. I like it a lot. Very good UI setup. And the next one is Pawn. We dabbed a little bit into this earlier. It just gives you suggestions to your item upgrades based on your stat weights. and it's very useful. I definitely like it. The next one is definitely DBM, and I'm gonna have a list of add-ons that I use. I'll have a list down in the description that you guys can check out there. So Angry Assignments is also another one that I use for raids. It's pretty good for getting information out there that's consistent and will stay on your screen. Again, I said LVUI. Weak auras too. I'll give you guys a crash course on what my weak auras are, so you guys can check that out. Scrolling combat text. Guys, scrolling combat text. That's the one that I use. It's better than my scrolling battle text. Honestly, you guys can customize it better, and it's fluently. It's nicer to see. What else? Pawn. That's the one. Pawn is the one that I showed you guys earlier, and obviously Deadly Boss mods. That's a must for raiders right now. Where is it? There he is. Deadly Boss mods, a must for raiders right now. You guys should totally install that. It really helps you out. Gives you timers, debuffs, and stuff like that. Also allows you to do the /pull and rangefinder. So a little bit of information that I'm going to give out at the end of this video. I'm going to be doing a separate video for the burst rotation for both the Ascendant spec and the Lightning Rod spec, so you guys can check out those videos. I'll put those videos in the description down below, and you guys can click on those and see it. It's going to be a separate video that is going to be up on my YouTube account and page. So that concludes this video, guys. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go over the weak auras. So the weak auras that I have right now, it shows me when I'm in combat, when I have my totem buff, a tracker for my Maelstrom, as well as other CDs if I used, say, my Fire Elemental, my Flame Shock, my Elemental Mastery, stuff like that. It's just a CD tracker pretty much, and the main reason I have it is for my totem buff and for my Maelstrom. But I'll put the link to my export for that weak auras down in the description below, so you guys can check that out. So thank you guys for tuning into the video. If you like the video, definitely subscribe to it. You guys can follow me on Twitch. I'll put that URL in the description down below as well. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Have a great one.